La Crosse, Wisconsin. A truly special place for those who know. And I'm assuming if you're watching this video and you know me, you probably know a little bit about La Crosse. Now, Oktoberfest weekend, which occurs basically the last weekend of September or the first weekend of October, is truly worth a visit. Keg rolling, drinking, etc., etc. This festival in this special community goes all the way back to 1961. And this year we celebrated our 64th Oktoberfest. And to celebrate this 64th Oktoberfest, I thought it would be a fantastic idea to visit La Crosse's very own Forest Hills.
We're in action.
Yes, we are. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Playing Around Wisconsin. Got my good buddies Isaac and Logan here today. We're playing Forest Hills. It's our Oktoberfest round, so we're gearing up for a fantastic weekend. And what do you think, buddy? Crosse?
Crosse to that. Cheers. I was gonna say, I got mine.
Tucked between the bluffs and just outside of UW La Crosse's lovely campus, Forest Hills has been a fixture in this community since 1901. The Oktoberfest gods blessed us with some immaculate weather again in 2025, and we had a lucky start to it as we played the round of golf at Forest Hills. Their pro shop is fully stocked with anything you need before, during, or after your round, and a practice facility that is top tier, especially with the public courses in the area. Driving range, chipping green, putting green, you name it. A brand new patio and bar area that overlooks the golf course and Granddad's Bluff is a perfect place to finish your round. And at only 6,135 yards from the back tees, this course is not tremendously long. Now let me reintroduce you to Isaac, bar manager at the La Crosse Beer House. I'll let you take in some of the sights and sounds of this wonderful establishment. Along with Isaac, I got my buddy Logan, bar manager at Howie's, a La Crosse staple, been around for 80 years, proudly serving since 1945, and the best chicken wings in the city of La Crosse. Hands down, I promise you, you will love them.
Got some wings, man?
Thanks, buddy. Eagle-eyed viewers of the channel might recognize some of the most recent videos not having quite as much drone footage in them. I'll admit here that the drone I have, as you can see by the footage, is not the best as it turns out, and does not do well in the wind. So by some odd miracle this morning, I was able to get some fantastic shots of the sun rising in between Granddad's Bluff and Miller Bluff, getting the golf course on both sides of the train tracks that, well, interfere with some of your shots if you are easily distracted. But anyways, on to the good stuff. The first hole, straight away, par 4, 325 yards from the back tees. We decided to play the white ones, and Logan, always ready for a great Oktoberfest with the significant markings on the golf ball, gets us started with an absolute stripe show. I personally love this hole as a starter just because it's not terribly complicated. What makes this hole and many holes on the front nine a little bit tricky and a little bit difficult is just how cramped these 9 holes are in with each other. The 18th hole is on the left side of the first hole, and, well, a handful of the other holes on the front 9 are on the right side, but both sides of the fairway have bunkers at pretty convenient landing spots for any of the tee markers. But no matter what side you're coming in from, you're going to have an elevated shot up to the green. Logan had a bit of a mud ball situation and managed to catch it quite thin, skipping the ball to the back of the green, leaving himself quite the tricky downhill putt. It doesn't take long, if you've never been out here before, to recognize and realize that the greens are what make this golf course particularly difficult. This course, it should be no surprise, gets an absolute ton of play. Whether the students are in town or not, people love playing Forest Hills. Now, with the greens being in such immaculate shape at this time of the year, it's no surprise to see Logan have that clutch par putt drop. The second hole at Forest Hills is an absolutely great par 4. pretty much all uphill from the tee to the green. You have a really tight window with bunkers at about 250 yards on both sides of the fairway that make this hole a lot more narrow. Like many holes on many golf courses, I particularly have a love-hate relationship with this hole. A bad tee shot really makes this, well, an incredibly difficult golf hole, and just even from the fairway, you're going to have some sort of difficulty and challenge simply getting the ball to the green. Logan had a perfect situation to try to hit a high draw in up to the green. Came up a little bit short, but an absolutely fantastic, well-struck shot up to the green. I had a fantastic drive that cleared both of the bunkers, but could not manage to make a wedge shot work for me. But overall, thankfully, all three of us kept the ball in between the trees, and that's going to make this hole significantly easier for the beginner, the experienced player, you name it. This is a tough hole. This green, amongst a few of the others on the golf course, is tucked back into the trees amongst the coulees, and it's one of the last greens to actually thaw in the wintertime come springtime. The green has a pretty significant bias, as you can see from the back to the front, and with the early morning excess of moisture and just lack of confidence, I left that birdie putt way short. Thankfully, we were really taking the round super seriously and playing for big money, and yeah, not so much.
Yeah, we'll take her there.
The third hole is an absolute bear of a par 3. From the white tees at 185 yards, if you're playing from the reds, this hole is actually a par 4 with the red tees about 50 yards back from where we were teeing off on the whites. This hole, regardless of what tees you're playing, always seems to play a lot longer than what's on the scorecard and the tee marker. I usually play at about 200 yards and manage to hit an absolutely terrible 6-iron way right of the green. The green itself is on the smaller side and is really protected well by bunkers on the right side and a cart path that runs pretty tight on the left. The green itself has 2 tiers to it, back to front, and the pin today was set up right in the middle, which made for a particularly difficult pitch, chip, sand out anywhere coming from any sort of angle to the green. Now at this juncture, if you've made it this far into watching the video, I want you to pay absolutely zero attention to the fact that I am walking into a pretty awful double bogey situation on a par 3. Just bask in the glory of one of the beautiful east-facing lacrosse mornings that we are blessed with in this community. Just about any sort of sunny day in the late, mid, early fall. Doesn't matter. It is such a beautiful morning, and I did not have a good hole here. I love, too, that with this shot you get to see some of the tracks of my putts and some of the other balls rolling on the green at that juncture, just to show the slope of that green. The fourth hole, at about 350 yards from the white tees, is, I would consider, kind of a risk-reward kind of a hole. A hyper-aggressive choice off the tee, for me, in my world, particularly hitting a driver, brings a lot of trouble into play and can put yourself in a tough position on the right side of the hole. I always, no matter if I'm playing the blue or white tees, I'm hitting 3-wood just because I can trust to put the ball in the fairway for the most part. But if you hit the ball far enough to the right, you still should have some sort of open shot to the green, whether you're coming in from the next fairway or in between the holes like Isaac was right there. Just know that left is absolute 100% complete Deadsville. Dead, dead, dead. Similar to the second hole, you're going to have an uphill shot to the green and a blind landing area pretty much no matter where the pin is placed. So, not the easiest hole. Again, risk, reward, play the hole accordingly. Right is better than left, and just like I mentioned on the last green, soak in the views. It's absolutely beautiful going up towards Granddad's Bluff. There's not a ton of bend in this green, but you can tell with the dew still sitting on the green that there is a bit of a knob about halfway up right where Isaac's waistline is in this current shot, that you gotta keep in mind. So 4 holes in, nothing over 400 yards, and still not a complete walk in the park. Similarly, the 5th hole at 369 yards from the whites and 386 yards from the blue tees, still not an incredibly long hole. But a tight tree line and bunkers at pretty convenient landing areas, and both holes before and after this on each side leave this a little bit more of a narrow golf hole than one would typically like. All of our tee shots went way right, giving us fairly clear shots over the tree line in between our hole and the 4th hole. Isaac wound up in one of the bunkers. Not an easy shot, but anything out of a bunker, in my view, is a good shot. Left him about 100 yards into the green and hit a strong, punchy wedge right at the flag that got all of us pretty excited.
Watch it in, watch it in, watch it in, watch it in!
So I suppose as you watch Logan and I scramble, a massive miss off the tee is not incredibly punishing, awful, something you can't recover from. A close miss is a lot worse than a bad one off the tee. So, do your best to keep it within, but don't worry too much if you miss the fairway by a mile. I'm not entirely sure that this video does how good of a putt this was any sort of justice. Putting through the fringe with the ball nestled on the first cut of the rough, to be able to put the face of the putter on the ball the way he did, pretty tremendous. And a confident stroke, center cut, not a bad bogey for Logan there. On to the first and only par 5 on the front nine at Forest Hills, 521 yards from the white tees and 540 from the blues. This hole is every bit as long as it looks from the tee. Even if you hit an absolute bomb, like I have been able to do a time or two, not today particularly, this is, for the most part, a 3-shot par 5.
Oh yeah, it's cutting.
The recurring theme persists on this hole, like the rest of the front nine at Forest Hills, is that if you miss your fairway, as long as you reach the other one, or get out of the trees as best as you can still survive. Now pay close attention to our friend Logan here, as he sets himself up for one of the most unconventional pars I have ever witnessed playing this hole before. I managed to find one of the few areas on the left side of the fairway that doesn't have a lot of tree trouble, only to have 2 pretty pronounced mounds and the ball well below my feet and some thick rough to deal with. Now, Logan was not trying to do this, but put himself in an absolutely fantastic position and threw an absolute dart on that wedge over the trees back onto the green. The fairway itself has a pretty significant left to right slope and bias, so any sort of approach shot, second, third, aim a little bit more to the left than you might realize, because it's gonna roll right. Now, length notwithstanding, looking at the size of this green overall, playing this as a 2-shot par 5, even if you hit the drive of your life, you will have a tremendously small target to hit into, protected remarkably well on all sides too. So, a tough par 5. Walking away with a 6 is not the worst thing in the world, but you certainly want better. The man rolls a great flat stick, a great par for Logan. Different players are going to have different opinions on what could be considered a signature hole at Forest Hills. I think this hole, the 7th hole, at about 142 yards from the white tees, about 170 from the blue, would be a very strong candidate. Just over the green and across Bluff Road is the Bluffside Tavern, a local establishment firmly established some time ago, a great place to stop by after you finish your round. Now, if you're not playing particularly well up to this point, you might be compelled to walk across the street after you finish this hole, but I do not recommend taking a drink to go and bringing it to a golf course because, well, it's against the law, and Playing Around Wisconsin does not approve of law-breaking activities. Go there after you finish the round. But 7th hole, short story long, long story short, aim a little bit left because that ball is going to move right. Holes 8 and 9 are where the train tracks probably will impact you the most. A couple of holes on the video so far you might have heard or seen the trains running through in the background. The hole only plays about 300 yards, and from the white or the blue tees there's not much going further back, so white tees, blue tees, doesn't really matter. The hole's going to play pretty much the same. In the recent years since moving back to La Crosse, I don't believe I have ever pulled driver on this hole. Always the 3-wood with my logic, as you can probably imagine, just simply find the fairway. Just ahead of my ball you can see a patch of rough that would probably be a good landing zone for most players hitting driver. So even if you do try to hit driver on this hole, something to keep in mind is that wherever your ball lands, you're probably going to land in some rough, and it's going to catch and not reach, and so on. So really resist the urge to try to overpower this golf hole. Play it smart. Nice putt there, buddy. One final point of note on the 8th hole, and this works for the 9th hole too, is that your approach shot, be prepared for it to roll out. So something short of the pin is a smart play. The 9th hole is a very good front 9 finisher. 320 from the blue tees, 311 from the whites, not particularly long. I believe, in my heart of hearts, that this hole actually plays a little bit shorter than the 8th hole, despite the extra yardage on the card. A squirrely miss on the right doesn't have to be fatal, like Isaac's shot here, and Logan, the stick of the group on the day, hit one of the best fairway bunker shots I have ever seen on this hole. Just stuck. Absolutely stuck. So just like the 8th green, if you can hit something high and super spinny, that will help you out tremendously. I had a 3-wood that barely stayed in, left myself a difficult wedge shot, a lot more difficult than it should have been, but regardless of which, something high, something spinny, hopefully it'll stick. This green runs a lot more than you would ever imagine if you've never played here before. All three of us were really hoping for a birdie for Logan and a sand save from the fairway, just because he had to walk off and get Howie's ready for the busiest weekend of the 2025 calendar year. Great playing 9 holes with him. My first time playing golf with the guy. Hopefully not my last. I know I'll see him at the bar pretty soon anyways. Moving forward, the 10th hole has gone under some, well, different looks over the last number of years. Formerly a par 4, the course changed it to a par 3 after, I'm assuming, they got sick and tired of college kids hitting tee shots into the side of trains on purpose. Not that I would know anything about that sort of a thing. But from the blue tees at about 172 yards and the white tees, a 20-yard advantage, it is an uphill par 3 that has a fairly narrow green with a false front. You can see from this angle of the camera, Isaac had to put a little extra oomph on it just to get the ball up to the cup. And after a bit of a squirrely start to the day, I was very happy, and still am happy, to see Isaac can this fantastic par putt.
Yes, sir.
Good on you, pal. And myself, too, not to be outdone. A quick little par putt down the slope. One of my favorite holes on this golf course is the 11th. 301 yards from the blues, 292 from the whites. There's not too much difference between the blue and the white tee boxes typically when you play this hole. The toughest thing about this hole is just how tight it is. It's all part of the Hickson hiking trails on the left, so it's out of bounds and a lot of flirting to do if you want to get aggressive and go towards the green. And Isaac, unfortunately, found a significant slope on the right that drops down towards the 17th hole. So finding the fairway means the difference between, well, relative life or death as far as this golf hole goes. Once you make it onto the green, it's one of the more flat greens on the back 9. Be prepared for putts that break towards the 12th tee box, as well as a general slope from the back to the front of the green itself. I have played on this golf course many times in my life throughout college and since moving back into town, and I will say readily that I have parred this hole way too many times. Not enough birdies. Lots of opportunities, just can't quite capitalize.
some form.
The 12th hole is where the back nine really starts showing its teeth. Like the 11th, you have hiking trails and woods all to the left, so it's all out of bounds. And on the right, in between this and, well, the other par 5 on the back nine, is a marshy, red-staked area that just seems to collect way too many golf shots from me in my history. Now, the fairway has a significant left-to-right slope throughout the entirety of the hole, which makes your tee shot even more difficult. I hit mine high and right enough to thankfully clear the crap in between the holes, giving myself a safe second shot approach to the green. 9 times out of 10, this is going to be a 3-shot par 5. I really don't recommend getting too aggressive with your second shot on this hole. You can see here from this angle, the green's pretty protected and elevated, so an aggressive second shot might put you really behind the proverbial 8 ball.
Look at her come back down.
Another reason why I like keeping this a 3-shot par 5 is watching Isaac's pitch shot roll up the slope and all the way back down. So giving yourself something simple from a number you typically hit from well will give you a good chance to put the ball on the proper shelf on that 2-tiered green.
You know what I mean? Like,
the slope of the fairway does lend itself to playing a more aggressive angle towards the fairway if you hit a straight ball, of course. Left is absolutely dead, just like the last 2 holes. Now, if you want to play it extra safe and think that going to the next fairway is a smart play, or somewhere in between the holes, there is a pretty significant drop and dip and a couple of trees you have to play some pinball around. And the massive group of trees on the right that you can see from my angle really does mess with a tee shot that is way too far right. This is a difficult par 4 across the board. Kind of a small landing area, you have to be extra precise, and a significant left to right slope, 2-tiered green like many of them on the back nine, that leaves a poor second approach shot. Whatever you're coming in from, you have to put it on the right shelf in order to keep yourself safe. Coming back from the 13th is, well, surprise, surprise, the 14th. Our recurring theme of out of bounds on the left continues on this hole, and some similar issues in between this and the last hole persist just as well. About 50 yards shorter than the 13th hole, the 14th has, well, it's a little bit more safe if you get a little squirrely on the right, hitting into the green. The tough thing about missing on the right is you have to play into the shallow portion of the green, so keeping the ball in the fairway is going to keep your second or approach shot much, much simpler, hitting a ball through the length of the green. Neither Isaac nor I were able to put a strong finish on this hole, but something to keep in mind when you reach the green is the back third does spill away from the front side of the green. Most times when I play Forest Hills, I like to play the blue tees. A little bit longer, a little bit tougher, a little bit more of a challenge. And here's where I typically break that mold. So, from the blue tees, it plays 563 yards, which is a lot of par 5 for just about anybody. The amount of carry you need from the blue tees simply to make it to the front edge of the fairway is, well, just a lot. So, I will readily admit again that a lot of times when I get out here and play, not recording, I'll just move up to the front tees, the white tees rather, just to keep things moving along. Much like the front nine, if you hit it too far to the right, you put yourself in another fairway and make the hole a heck of a lot simpler than it otherwise might be. So, white tees, aim down the middle of the fairway, but really don't worry too bad if you hit the ball to the 12th fairway. Don't be too embarrassed. A lot of people do it. I did it and put it on YouTube. You know, it's a tough par 5, and certainly not to be outdone by the following hole. The 16th hole at Forest Hills, I would argue, is one of the most visually intimidating par 3s anywhere. Whether you're playing from the white or the blue tees, you can bank on this hole being about 190 or a 200 yard shot just to reach the green. You're going to have to carry it that number just to get it onto the playing surface, or relatively close to it. The amount of slope that leads up to the green will absolutely suck your ball back down like a magnet if you hit something high, weak, or right. So you need that much juice on the ball just to get it up to the green. Then when you reach the green, you have a putting surface that is heavily right to left biased as you approach the green, or left to right from the backside. And thankfully, one of the very few times I walk off that hole with a par, I got it on tape. So real deal, happy with a par. Walking off that hole with a bogey, you're not going to be too upset with yourself, I certainly hope. The 17th hole, I think, is a perfect sort of 17th hole on just about any golf course. Fairly tight par 4 with the 12th hole, if you recall, all the way up the hill that I managed to find with a horrible slice. Isaac had a great tee shot, putting himself in great shape for an approach shot to a 3-tiered green, actually. The tree line that separates the second hole and the 17th also acts as a pretty tough barrier in between the holes. So putting the ball in the fairway is a premium here and really anywhere. So my goodness gracious, this hole at any given point in time can come back to really kick you in the butt. So overall, a hole like this, Isaac finishing with a 5, not a terrible bogey, and probably the most miraculous and unconventional par that I've had on this hole in my history of playing it. Last and certainly not least, one of my favorite holes on this course is the 18th. At 312 yards from the back tees, 286 from the whites, I love the idea of getting real aggressive on this hole. Bunkers on the left and right side of the fairway are more or less in a landing spot for my 3-wood, so with the wind helping us a little bit and feeling confident with the driver finally, I decided to give it a rip, and it actually turned out pretty well for me. If you get squirrely, you find yourself where Isaac is, dealing with some tall, old-growth trees that you have to either go through or go over. His attempt to go over didn't go particularly well, but doing a good job of getting out of that fairway bunker, giving himself a decent look. I found one of the greenside bunkers off the tee and rolled it within a few feet of the cup. Great putt to finish for my friend, and, I'm not too proud of this finish here. Bought a brand new putter this spring, puts a ball right on the line, and you pull a 3-foot birdie putt.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Crosse,
baby.
Love it.
Happy Oktoberfest, Isaac.
Frickin' Oktoberfest.
We could not have a very special episode of Playing Around Wisconsin of this nature without something very special. Forest Hills boasts a playoff hole where you can settle any extra bets you might have or just play an extra hole for fun. And I'd be lying if I said I never saw people coming out to practice on the practice facility sneaking in a quick test on this uphill par 3. And I felt it would be a perfect opportunity for me to utilize the special limited edition Vice Golf Prost golf balls. Look exactly like a semi-full glass of beer. They actually perform pretty well too. I got the rest of the dozen on display in my apartment. So, great par to finish for me. I can't wait for the rest of this weekend. It should be another epic one for the books. So on the way out, Forest Hills. It's a special place in a special town. Get your butts to La Crosse for Oktoberfest. Go to Howie's, go to the beer house, or just go play Forest Hills. And if you're lucky enough, do all 4 of those things in one epic weekend. So, some sights and sounds from the fest and the round as we take ourselves home. Thanks for watching another episode of Playing Around Wisconsin, and we will see you very, 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 very soon. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, and we'll see ya.